So, good afternoon to all of you students. I'm uploading the video today and I will share the link of this video tomorrow, that is at 6:30 p.m. So, today we were continuing with the air pollution and the impacts of the air pollution, and also the environmental legislations which are actually uh, normally set up by the various organizations by the government to minimize the effect of this air pollution we will discuss today. So let's get started now. First we will today we will discuss about the ozone depletion, why ozone is going to be depleted, and then it's the protocols or the laws which are actually made to minimize the effect of ozone depleting substance, also known as ODS, right? So let's get started now. So normally what does ozone depletion means? If I say, it is saying here that ozone layer is the layer in the earth's atmosphere. That is, normally ozone, it is a layer made up of ozone gas, normally called as O3, and they are found in the stratospheric region. Now, this ozone layer normally absorbs most of the sun's harmful energy radiations, which is also called as ultraviolet radiations. So, ozone layer has some importance in maintaining the temperature of the earth, because most of the sun's harmful energy or harmful radiation, that is the UV radiation, ultraviolet radiation, is actually absorbed by the ozone layer. Ozone layer contains relatively high concentration of ozone. So ozone layer normally contain high level of ozone, and the main characteristics of ozone is that it gets formed in the stratosphere, and also it gets disrupted by the action of photon, by the action of light. So that's why it is saying that it gets photo dissociated constantly. What does photo dissociated means? It means that with the help of sunlight, with the help of photon, photon, photon means sunlight, the ozone gas going to be dissociated. That means the ozone gas is going to be break apart. Okay, and at the same time also the ozone is also going to be formed within that stratosphere. So this is actually the main reaction. You can see O3, ozone, with the help of UV light, the ozone is going to be split out to form nascent oxygen and oxygen gas. The same oxygen gas will be again reunited with atomic oxygen to form ozone. So the rate of dissociation and the rate of formation of ozone is you can say equally maintained in the ozone layer. What the problem is that we are using nowadays, humans are using such substances which actually break the ozone layer more rapidly. So the rate of dissociation has become more than the rate of formation of the ozone layer, and that's the cause of ozone depletion. So what in the notes it is saying that the main characteristics of ozone is that it gets formed in the stratosphere, and at the same time it also going to be photo dissociated. That means with the help of photon, that means sunlight, it going to be separated constantly. This mechanism is the basis of the ozone to protect the earth from harmful ultraviolet radiation of the sun by dissipating their energy. So what they are doing actually, ozone is utilizing the energy of the sunlight so that it itself get into separate into products, and the same products will be again reversibly will be formed to form again to form ozone. Now this thickness of the ozone layer, the thickness of the ozone layer will vary seasonally and geographically. So ozone layer is not same everywhere actually. Okay, we are doing ozone depletion, okay, but naturally speaking ozone layer is not same everywhere according to the seasons, according to the altitudes. Okay, that's why it is saying geographical locations. Ozone layer can vary. The protection of this earth, the protection of the earth from ultraviolet rays is proportional to the thickness of the ozone layer. So it is saying, if I say mathematically, the protection of the earth from the UV ray is directly proportional to the thickness of the ozone layer. That means more thickness of the ozone layer means more protection of the earth from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. Less thickness of the ozone layer means less protection. Okay. The main cause of ozone depletion is destruction of this ozone gas by some gases, by some atomic halogens. There are some substance called halogen substance, which actually, halogens means, those who are not from a science background, halogens means your compounds which are made from chlorine, fluorine, bromine, iodine. Most of the case chlorine or fluorine make up the halogenic substance. So these halogenic substance are made by human beings for their particular purpose, and these substance are actually causing depletion of the ozone layer. Okay, the main source of halogen, of these halogen atoms, are man-made halocarbons, refrigerants. That means that you can say the compounds which are used for cooling substance in refrigerator, in your air conditioner, etc. Then solvents. Some of the halogenic substance are used as solvent. Solvent is used normally to dissolve a particular substance called solute. Like we know that water is a universal solvent. It can dissolve almost anything. But sometimes there are some things where water cannot be used as a solvent. For, like for example, some case of preservative. Okay. Okay, so for that reason we have to make some artificial solvent, and most of the solvents that are used by the made by the human beings are made from halogen groups. Okay, propellants and foam blowing agents. So the example of some halocarbons or atomic halogens are CFCs. CFCs full form is chlorofluorocarbon. Chloro, CHOLO, chloro, CHOLORO, chloro, fluoro, FLURO, fluoro, carbon. HCFCs, that means hydroxychlorofluorocarbon, freons, halons. These are some common substances which are actually prepared by human beings, and these are all ozone depleting substances. That means they will degrade the ozone in the stratosphere. So the rate of breaking of the ozone layer is going to be more than its formation. On the other hand, the sun relay, the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun is breaking the ozone layer. Okay, that's not problem, because at the same time formation is being occurred. On the other hand, due to the interference of human beings, these ozone depleting substance is also breaking the ozone. So the rate of breaking the ozone becomes greater than the rate of formation, and that's why ozone depletion is occurring. Okay, so what are ozone depleting substance? Those who are depleting the ozone, those who are breaking the ozone. Most of the case, all the halogenated carbons like chlorofluorocarbons, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, they are called as ozone depleting substance. So here you can see that how normally a single atom of chlorine is actually breaking the ozone actually. So if you see in the first reaction, CFCl3, CFCl3 in the presence of ultraviolet rays, it breaks into CFCl2 and chlorine atom. The CFCl2 then again with the help of ultraviolet light, it again breaks into CFCl and Cl. Finally, this chlorine that is found within the chlorofluorocarbon, the chlorine which is found in the chlorofluorocarbon, that means all the halogens actually interfere with the ozone layer. So here you can see that the chlorine here, which is a halogen, is interfering with the ozone layer and it is breaking the ozone layer to form CaO and molecular oxygen. So ultimately it breaks the ozone layer to form molecular oxygen. This same ClO is again breaking the ozone layer to form Cl and 2O2. You can imagine the Cl again form, it will again interfere with the, just like a chain reaction, it will again interfere with next ozone gas, and in this way it will continue to break off, and that's why there is a rapid degradation of the ozone layer in a stepwise manner. And that is the main reason that why ozone hole formation is occurring. It's not a one step reaction, it's a chain of reaction which is occurring one by one after another, one after another, and causing depletion of the ozone. I hope you have understood what I have mentioned here. You can see, again I'm repeating, the CFCl3 gas is reduced to form, here this gas is reduced to form CFCl and Cl. So actually ultimate aim is the halogen which is found in the halogenated carbons. This halogen will interfere with the ozone layer and break that ozone layer to form molecular oxygen. Okay, and in this way it will continue. Okay, now what are the effects of ozone depletion? Obviously many health effects will occur, because if the harmful ultraviolet radiation enter to your earth surface, it will cause severe effects in our health, not only in the humans also, but also to the plants, animals and other organisms. So ozone depleting substance like methyl chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, halogens cause rapid destruction of the ozone layer. Okay, so there are some important ozone depleting substance like methyl chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, in short it is called as CCl4, halogens. These substances cause rapid destruction of the ozone layer, and thereby our environment is overexposed with the strong UV light. And that is the main reason that why we are getting too much exposure of UV light, because the ozone layer has become thin, so more UV rays can enter to the earth. Now the ozone layer cannot able to interfere with the entering of the ultraviolet right now, and they led to various disease and mutations in our body. Well, mutation means, in if I say in molecular biology level, you know that DNA is the basic constituent of life. It contains all the information from our tip of the hair to the tip of the tail, or in animal, or in tip of the toe. So if the DNA is actually has the information, now if this information is going to be, what can I say, shuffled somehow, then by the effect of these harmful rays, then automatically it will leads to abnormal phenotypes, it will leads to abnormal effects in our body, and it will lead to some serious conditions like skin cancer is common, which is normally found in the western countries, and many evidence is going to be occurring. Even skin cancer is occurring in this country also, because of this ozone depletion. Cataracts is actually in Bengali we say chani pore java, that means a layer occur on in front of our lens of the eye, and that's the result of your one of the causes of cataract is the harmful ultraviolet radiation. Aging. Aging means rapid increase of the age, weakening of the immune system, and so on and so forth. So due to the effects of the ultraviolet radiation entering to the earth, it causes various problems in our body. Like I have said, it causes skin cancer, it causes cataracts, it can cause aging, means rapid increase of age. Even if you are a young age, your skin becomes wrinkled, face become wrinkled due to overexposing to the ultraviolet rays, weakening of your immune system, and so on. The main thing cause of this all these conditions is due to the change in the information in the DNA. Okay, and that occurs due to the harmful ultraviolet light. Second cause of this ozone depletion is second cause of second actually impacts of ozone depletion is that many crop species are vulnerable. That means they are sensitive to strong UV light, and overexposure may lead to minimal growth, photosynthesis, and flowering. So excessive ultraviolet rays is not good for the plants, certain plants, because some plants are very sensitive to this ozone layer, especially the herbs, and it leads to delayed pollination, it leads to delayed photosynthesis, it will minimize their growth and also flowering patterns. Next impact of ozone depletion is that it will also affect the marine life. Well, marine life, why it is getting affected? Because by the way, the water is going to be heated up more because of the strong ultraviolet radiations, and thus it will affect the marine life also, especially the planktons, which are single cellular living organisms, is greatly affected by exposure of strong UV light. Okay, now if this plankton is going to be depleted in their population due to the effect of harmful ultraviolet radiation, automatically it will affect the food chain also. That's why it is saying, we know that in the aquatic food chain, planktons appear at the highest level. If the number of planktons decreases due to ozone layer depletion, then the marine food chain will automatically be disrupted in many ways. Okay, so ultimately it will whole affect the food web, the food chain of the marine ecosystem. Now an important thing I will going to discuss about the photochemical smog. Okay, now to minimize the effect of this ozone depleting substance, a protocol an act has been imposed uh, by the United Nations actually. We will discuss them, but first let me try to discuss about the photochemical smog, which is another impact of air pollution. Now the name comes photochemical smog. All the answer lies within this term. Photo means what? Photo means photon, and photon means sunlight here. Chemical, that means with the help of sun's energy there will be a chemical reactions going on. What chemical reactions? Smog formation. Now smog is a mixture of two things. Smoke, in your junior classes you have learnt, I think, smoke with fog. Okay, so the chemicals, all the gaseous substance which make up the smoke, and fog is usually dust particles with water particles, they combine together in the presence of sunlight to form smog, that we known as photochemical smog. So what it is saying, photochemical smog is a type of smog produced when ultraviolet light from the sun react with the oxides of nitrogen in the atmosphere. So various pollutants are going to be released in the atmosphere by the factories, by the vehicles, and many producing industries, manufacturing industries. One of the important constituent pollutant that is released is oxides of nitrogen or nitrous oxide. When this nitrous oxide react with the sun's ultraviolet rays, because the ultraviolet rays has entered to the earth's surface, so it reacts with the nitrous oxides and also with the water vapor that makes the fog. Actually together they forms a smog. Normally, smog is visible as a brown haze, and it is most prominent during morning and afternoon, especially in densely populated urban regions. Best example, if you go to Kolkata, or better to say, if you go to Delhi, just rise early in the morning and see, even in the summer season, also a fog type of a brown type of fog, light brown, not deep brown. Deep brown is an indication of more densely polluted, okay, smog. So it densely it occurs, okay. And most of the urban nations are actually having this type of problem due to too much of releasing of these gases in the atmosphere. Well, government has set up many laws, many restrictions, like you all know, you all have bikes, and for there is a certification that you have to do, like air pollution control, that is normally found in nearby our cities, in the side our roadways. We go for it and we check the pollution level, and they make that clear that your pollution level is too much high. They make that advice that you have to service your automobile, and so on and so forth. But still, so much of legislations has been made by the government, not in India also, but for other countries also. Okay, some strict regulations has been made in all the countries or other countries also, but still we are releasing this type of gases. And one of the gases is nitrous oxide that interacts with the, in the presence of your ultraviolet rays, it reacts with the water vapor that makes the fog, and they become heavy, they become heavy, and they settle down as smog. Now, photochemical smog is not a single chain reaction process. It forms through a complex process. Well, photochemical smog is not a direct single reaction, just like the ozone depletion that I have discussed with you, how the chlorine is interacting, breaking the ozone into forming molecular oxygen. Just like that, through a series of steps, photochemical smog is going to be occurring. However, the source of it is quite apparent. Okay, we know that who is the contributor of this photochemical smog, who are the contributors of this photochemical smog, but the series of reaction that makes to produce this photochemical smog is bit complicated. So I'm not going to show the reaction here, but we are going to show the source. Largest contributor of nitrous oxide, or you can say largest contributor to form this photochemical smog, is automobiles. While coal fired power plants and some other power plants also produce necessary pollutants to facilitate its production. So photochemical smog is normally main responsible, who is main responsible for photochemical smog formation is the automobiles. Okay, because at the ground level, automobiles are releasing this nitrous oxide and other pollutant gases which will interact with the UV rays due to ozone depletion, and interact with the water vapor in the surroundings and form a smog like appearance in the early morning time or in the late afternoon time. Due to its abundance in the areas of warmer temperature, photochemical smog is most common in summer. So in urban areas, we can see this type of photochemical smog in the summer season normally, because at summer season the UV light normally comes in a more depth way, more concentration way. Okay. Now some chemicals related with the photochemical smog. Photochemical smog is a serious type of oxidizing pollutant. So it is an oxidizing agent and it is a pollutant, better to say. The main ingredients, that means what are the main constituents of photochemical smog, is the O3. Well, O3 is a good thing, right? But if this ozone or O3 is found in the ground level, it will cause serious respiratory problems, because by the way, ozone is needed only to protect us from the harmful ultraviolet rays only, and it has no other function. If this ozone is formed within the troposphere, then what will happen? It will be inhaled by us and it will cause respiratory problems. Then NOx, oxides of nitrogen, nitric oxide, NO2, N2O3, N2O5, these all are the ingredients that make your photochemical smog. Even hydrogen peroxide is also given. Then some organic peroxides. Okay, R is the side chain here. Just I am reminding you, R is the side chain. It can be any functional group. Then lead nitrate, Pb2n. Then PAPAN, PAN full form is peroxyacetyl nitrate. Okay, so these all things make your photochemical smog. So you can imagine such a complicated process. Not only one constituent is responsible for photochemical smog, various constituents together make photochemical smog in the presence of harmful ultraviolet rays. Normally photochemical smog are formed by photochemical reaction. So in the presence of sunlight, in the presence of UV rays of the sunlight, these type of reactions going on between the oxides of nitrogen, between the oxygen and hydrocarbon. So the oxides of nitrogen, then oxygen and hydrocarbons, in the presence of UV light, they form photochemical smog. And somehow water vapor also interacts to form a fog like appearance. Nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide are emitted from the combustion of fossil fuels, along with being naturally emitted from the things like volcanoes and forest fires. So as I have said when we were talking about acid rain in the previous video, in the previous classes, nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide's main source is where? Incomplete combustion of the fossil fuel. Well, our fossil fuel is not completely combusted, not completely burned, and as a result these type of gases are going to be released. Oh, by the way, this nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide is also emitted from volcanoes, from the volcanic eruptions and forest fires. Now volcanic eruption is not occurring continuously, but they are contributing to this nitric oxide nitrogen dioxide formation. Now, when this nitrogen dioxide is exposed to UV light, the nitrogen dioxide goes through a complex series of reactions with the hydrocarbon and produce the components of the photochemical smog. So when what happened, the oxides of nitrogen, here we are specifically focusing on nitrogen dioxide. So when nitrogen dioxide is interacting with the UV light, it makes series of reactions with the other hydrocarbons present in the atmosphere and make up the components of the photochemical smog, like ozone. This ozone, it will not be formed in the stratosphere. This ozone will form in the troposphere, and it is called as ground level ozone, which is very bad for us if we breathe this ozone. Nitric acid, aldehydes, peroxyacetyl nitrates and other secondary pollutants. So these gases are actually formed from the primary pollutants. Okay, as I have discussed in the offline classes that what are secondary pollutants. Secondary pollutants occur through the reactions done by the primary pollutants which are exposed to the atmosphere. So these nitric dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, ozone and peroxyacetyl nitrate, These three are the main constituents of photochemical smog, and they are also called photochemical oxidants because they can react with any substance and they can oxidize certain compound. Well, oxidation, you know, addition of oxygen or removal of electron or removal of hydrogen in the atmosphere, or it will also enter to the person lungs that are not normally oxidized. Even the small traces of this chemical can affect the respiratory tract of humans and animals and able to damage the crops and trees. So this nitrogen dioxide, this ozone that is going to be formed as a result of photochemical smog formation, and peroxyacetyl nitrate, they are also called as photochemical oxidants, or you can say photochemical oxidizing pollutants, because they can react with the compounds, they can react with the organic compounds and also inorganic compounds and can able to oxidize certain compounds in the atmosphere. Even it enters to the person lungs which are not normally oxidized, they will start to oxidize and damage our tissues. Even small traces of these chemicals can affect our respiratory tract. What are the effects of photochemical smog? Well, it will cause various problems associated with the respiratory tract. If we inhale, if we get too much prolonged exposed to this photochemical smog, especially those people who are exposed too much, like the traffic polices, they are the ones who are actually more exposed to this photochemical smog because it is their duty to check the traffic, okay, to control the traffic, and they are exposed most. Then the workers, the laborers which are actually continuously working in the factories, they are also going to be exposed to a photochemical smoke, okay. So and those people are actually affect their respiratory tract, such as shortness of breath, coughing and sore throat, means gola batha, inflammation of the airways, the airway, that is the trachea, the the bronchi is going to be inflated, is going to be inflamed, that means ফুলে যাওয়া, and that leads to thinning of the, narrowing of the airway, a windpipe. It can also cause damage to the various plants by blocking the stomata. Well, stomata is the tiny pores which are found on the leaf surface, and that's the main place where exchange of gases takes place. So if the stomata gets blocked, it will cannot able to do their photosynthesis or respiration, which will prevent the process of respiration in plant by oxidizing the plant tissues. Actually, these gases are oxidizing pollutants, they enter to our system, whether it is in plant or in animal, it enters to our system normally through our air route, through our respiratory route. In plants it enters to the stomata and it starts to oxidize the substance, and thus it damages the tissues, the cell, also the DNA at molecular level, okay. So this was all the impacts of air pollution that I have discussed. Now what are the steps taken by the government, by the international organization to minimize the effect of pollution, we will discuss now. And at the end we will going to discuss about the control of air pollution. If I get the time enough, it will be lengthy, this video it will be lengthy, because if I break off part by part, it will be difficult for you to understand all them. So I'm making a lengthy video here so that all the air pollution can become completed in this one video. So let us see, let us discuss about the protocols or the legislations which are set up by the international organizations to minimize the effect of ozone depletion, to minimize the global warming impact, and also the acts that has been imposed by the government to control the air pollution. Well, so this is the act which has been or the law which has been actually set up by the Indian government to minimize the effect of air pollution, and it is called as Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act. It was been enacted in 1981. That means it came into force in 1981. The Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act aims to control and prevent air pollution in India. The main objective of this Air Pollution Act is to control and prevent the air pollution in India. It got amended means some modifications has been made. Okay, modification, or you can say revised, or you can say improved, as I have mentioned the meaning. So it got amended in the year 1987. Some modifications has been made in this Air Act on 1987. Now why they revised the following? Because some of the things has not been stated clearly, or has not been properly implemented. Okay, so to minimize the problem of that present situation, some modifications has been made in the act, so that more and more they can able to get their objectives. So the main objectives of this Air Pollution Act is as follows. So the first objective is that to provide for prevention, control, and abatement, means reduction or minimizing the air pollution. The first aim of this Air Act is to provide for prevention, to control, okay, and to abate. Abatement means to minimize or to reduce the pollutants that are polluting the air. Second point, to provide for the establishment of the boards at the central level and state level with a view to implement the act. That means to make this act functionally active, we have to prepare some group, we have to prepare some board member of people at the central level, also at the state level, to implement, that means to put that plan into effect. What we want here, air pollution, to put that plan into effect, and that will be set up by the central board and the state board on this act. And that's why in India they have set up Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board. The Central Pollution Control Board, they are the main members which actually control the air pollution at the country level, whereas in each state there is a State Pollution Control Board. They are responsible for to make that objectives of the Air Pollution Act come true, um, by mutual, you can say the mutually actions with this central board. Okay, but State Pollution Control Board is maintained at state level only, it will not interfere with the other state. To confer on boards the power and duties to implement the provisions of the act. That means, to confer means to make a discussion before putting that plan into effect on boards, and power and duties to implement the provisions of the act. So to make that act successfully done by the people, done by the citizens of the country, we have to confer, not we here refers to the pollution control boards will discuss, and they will try to evaluate, they will try to implement that provisions of the act. The state should prescribe emission standard for industry and automobiles after consulting with the central board and seeing its ambient air quality standards. So it is saying that the states should prescribe emission standard. That means set up certain rules that what are the pollutant labels which should be emitted, not to that much. Okay, limit of the pollutants on automobiles, on industries, on processing plants, on power plants, after consulting with the central board. Like we know especially in the time of celebrations, in the time of um, ceremonies, like in case of pujas or festivals, religious festivals, it was actually we see sometimes that many government authorities have advised or strictly prohibited the use of bombs. Not it should not go to a sound level of 100 decibel, you know. Just like that also here, in case of air act, they have make certain they have tabulated actually, they have tabulated a list of pollutants, and what amount of pollutants can be released, not more than that. Okay, in automobiles, in industries has been mentioned. So, emission standards are legal requirements governing air pollutants released to the atmosphere. So, emission standard means what are the things that are required to control the air pollutant in the atmosphere. And emission standards set up qualitative limits on the permissible amount of specific air pollutants that may be released from specific source over specific time frames. So emission standard actually, they set up some quantitative limits, that means how much we can emit in a period of time, not more than that. Okay, uh, on specific sources, now depend on specific sources also we will be considered. Like if you are owning an automobile, then it has some permissible limits, not more than that. If you are owning an industry, then the industry has some standard, emission standard, at how much pollutant it can be released, and what are the pollutants it can release, not the harmful pollutants, right? Ambient air quality, normally, that I have mentioned with you. Okay, I have said that the states would provide prescribe emission standards for industry and automobiles after consulting the central board and seeing its ambient air quality standard. So what is ambient air quality? Ambient air quality standard are the concentration of pollutants in the air, referred to as outdoor air. So the outdoor air quality has some limits, not more than that we can pollute. Otherwise, the pollution control board can take actions. Although it's a funny thing, and no actions has been taken here, but there are some places where street actions are being taken. Even you can put into jail. Okay, with a heavy, huge amount of fine. And the criteria are specified for a variety of reasons, like protection of human health, crops, ecosystem, as well as planning and for other purpose. Normally ambient air quality standard has been set up by the government for particular purpose, like protection of the human health. Okay, like here in Durgapur you are doing this and that, you can pollute the air. Okay, but if you go to some places like some heritage sites, okay, even if you go to Delhi, there are some permissible limits. If you not obey that rules, then they can force you to jail or make a fine. Okay, then what it is saying that the air prevention control of pollution act also states that the source of air pollution, like internal combustion engines, industry, vehicles, power generation plants, are not permitted to release particulate matter, lead, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, volatile organic compounds, or other toxic substance beyond a predetermined limit. So the names that I have mentioned with you just now, they are all pollutants, and these pollutants have some limited they have some limited permission to release them into the atmosphere from the industry, from the vehicles, from the power generation plant, from the internal combustion engine that we use in our automobiles. So beyond that, it will hamper the, again, it will be going against a rule, against a law made by the government. Normally internal combustion engine, I think you know, but still I have here written, internal combustion engine is a heat engine in which the combustion or burning in presence of oxygen done on a fuel with the help of oxidizer in the combustion chamber. So there is a chamber called combustion chamber. Whether you are using a car or bus or a scooty, all have a combustion chamber, and in this combustion chamber the fuel is going to be burned out in the presence of oxygen, and that makes your process to work well. At the same time, there is also a specific standard has been given on the fuel called C10 number. Okay, I think you know the names, the terms of those who are actually dealing with automobiles. So they actually make to knock back. Okay, so all the fuel does not get combusted actually. Otherwise, uh, you have pour all the petrol and all the petrol will be combusted quickly. Not like that. So there should be a knocking effect so that it will burn slowly so that we can utilize the energy for a long period of time. Okay, so there's some various issue, there are the various things that are normally discussed in petrochemical industries, C10 number, octane number, right? So by the way, we are doing the air pollutants, and they are saying that from this internal combustion engine, what are the pollutants that are going to be released? They should be maintained at prescribed level. Okay, well, I also discuss about the particulate matter whose diameter is less than 10 micrometer actually. And volatile organic compounds are those compounds which are actually what can I say, volatile organic compounds are those compounds which actually evaporate at room temperature actually. Okay, so volatile organic compounds are those organic chemicals that have a high vapor pressure at room temperature. High vapor pressure correlates with low boiling point. That means even at room temperature it will get evaporated out, like benzene, chloroethylene glycol, formaldehyde, okay, methylene chloride, etc. So coming back to the air act, two more points. It also empowers the state government to designate the air pollution areas. So they the central pollution control board and the state pollution control board will, with the help of state government, with the help of central government, they will designate the air pollution areas, which areas are mostly affected by the air pollution, and they have to prescribe the type of fuel to be used in that areas, what type of fuels has to be used in that areas, and how much that fossil fuel can be utilized. These are the things which has to be prescribed, which has to be worked with the help of pollution control boards. And the last point, according to it, it is required a consent of the state boards to operate certain type of industries like asbestos, cement, fertilizer and petroleum industries. So before, as I have discussed with you in the offline class, the environmental protection, I have said now that sorry, EIA, environmental impact assessment, before setting up something we have to consent with the state boards, we have to consent with the central pollution control board, that to make that statement that non objection, that it will not cause any pollution. Even it is causing pollution, it will try to compensate. Okay, so when we are operating certain type of industries, or installing certain type of industries like asbestos, cement, fertilizer and petroleum industries, then we have to consent with the State Pollution Control Board committee. So this was all about the Air Act. Now very well it has been framed by the government, but still we are doing the pollution. Okay, now in various areas, in various countries, if you see, if you go to Syria, if you go to Australia, if you go to Switzerland, if you go to Japan, or somehow if you go to Russia, okay, they have their own laws and own rules, okay, to minimize the effect of the pollution. And they have make alternative ways also to minimize the effect of pollution. Like if you go to Australia, okay, if you go to Australia or especially in Singapore, if you go, okay, there is a thing that there is a no smoking area. Imagine, no smoking area means there you cannot able to smoke. If you smoke, you will put into jail. There is an area called smoking area where you are permitted to do smoking. So in this way they have make some little bit changes, some modifications has been made. Small things can make a huge impact, can make a huge change to the environment. Okay, so these were the things which was about the Air Pollution Control Act. And now in the next, now I will try to discuss about the Montreal Protocol, which is mainly focusing on to reduce the ozone depleting substance. Okay, well, let us discuss about the Montreal Protocol. um, what it is saying here, Montreal Protocol was signed in 1987, and it entered to the force on January 1989. So it entered to the force in January 1989. It took some years to make that plan into effect, because by the way it is mainly dealing with to reduce the usage of ozone depleting substance. And the protocol give provisions means provisions normally in dictionary means supply of something or to somebody, or to make something available. So okay, so this protocol normally give provisions to reduce the production and consumption of ozone depleting substance, also called as ODS, to protect the ozone layer. So normally Montreal Protocol main objective is to give some permissions, make some limits, so that we can able to reduce the production, we can able to reduce the usage of ozone depleting substance like chlorofluorocarbon, hydroxychlorofluorocarbon, all the other substance that will help us to protect from the ozone layer. Let's see more. It phases down the use of ozone depleting substance in a stepwise time bound manner. Well, directly you can not able to omit all the ozone depleting substance, but we can phase down. Phase down or phase out means to discontinue the practice of using of ozone depleting substance, not in a time, not in a directly, but in a particular period of time. So phase down means slowly we will reduce the usage of ozone depleting substance in a period of time in a stepwise time bound manner. Number 2, it gives different timetables for developing and developed countries. Now they have given timetable that within that time you have to reduce this type of gas, right? So all the developing countries and developed countries have given that time frame. Obviously developed countries have given less time because they are developed already, like America, United States of America, Japan, right? And the developing countries which are going to be developed, okay, they are developing like India, Pakistan, all the Southeast Asian countries are developing, China, okay. So time frame has been given, timetable has been given, that within that period of time you have to minimize the use of these gases which are depleting the ozone layer. Okay, all member parties have specific responsibilities related to phasing out of various group of ozone depleting substance. So all the member parties, those who are the member of this Montreal Protocol, they have some specific responsibility that we have to phase out, that we have to minimize the use of this ozone depleting substance for a particular within a time frame, and also we will control the ozone depleting substance trade, because if you trade the ozone depleting substance, more and more countries will use that substance. So we have to minimize the trading of this ozone depleting substance. Reporting of data annually, that means annually, yearly, we have to report the data that how much it has been reduced. We have to report them with the help of pollution control boards. Controlling export and import of ozone depleting substance, etc. So these are the ways through which Montreal Protocol is working. They have given a time frame, and they have also make specific responsibility to the parties so that they can phase out various groups of ozone depleting substance, because ozone depleting substance is not one or two gases, many substances are there. Okay, if I go on continue saying all the gases, it will become a whole book, right? So based on the countries, member of the countries, like India has, I think, 7 gases has been banned. 7 ozone depleting substance gases has been banned, and they have make a time frame that within that time we have to reduce that gases, using of those gases or developing those gases. Okay, and they have to report the data annually, and also we have to control and export and import of this ozone depleting substance. Developing and developed countries have equal but different responsibility. Well, developing country has low less responsibility compared to the developed countries. Developing country have low responsibility because they are improving, so they can able to use somehow within a certain time frame. They can use that ozone depleting substance. However, both groups of the nation have time bound, binding, and measurable commitments under the protocol, making it effective. So both the nations, both the groups of nations, whether it is developing countries or developed countries, they have a time bound frame that within the time we have to minimize. And measurable commitment means, I think you know, commitment normally means to give promise to yourself that within that time we have to act according to the protocol here. And under the protocol there is a provision for it to be amended. There are some changes that has been made in this Montreal Protocol also, like you will see in the Kigali amendment. Okay, in the Kigali amendment of Montreal Protocol, they have also said that not only chlorofluorocarbons, but you have to also reduce the uh, production of hydrochlorofluorocarbons. Although hydroxy or hydrochlorofluorocarbons is not a ozone depleting substance, but it is causing global warming. Okay, so in the Kigali agreement, it has been mentioned that we have to reduce the use of hydrochlorofluorocarbons, or uh, hydrochlorofluorocarbon, HCFC says. Okay, because this gas is not causing ozone depletion, but rather it is causing what? Global warming issue. So some provisions, some amendment has been made in this Montreal Protocol, and they are adjusted according to the new scientific development, economic and technological advancement. The protocol has undergone 9 amendments or revision. 9 times it has been updated. This protocol has been make revisions, you can say make in your language you say updated 9 times. The governance body of the protocol is the meeting of the parties. Technical support is given by the open-ended working group. So there is open. So here in the Montreal Protocol, in the Montreal Protocol, what we see, the governance body for this Montreal Protocol is the meeting of the parties. All the parties, member of these parties of this protocol, they meet, and technical support is provided by open-ended working group. Well, what does open-ended working group means? There is no some fixed group. All the technical support from the governmental as well as from the non-governmental organization will help together, okay, to make this protocol finally to come into act. And both they meet once every year. Now all these parties are helped by the Ozone Secretariat, which is based at the headquarters of United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, at Nairobi. So normally the parties which are aided by Ozone Secretariat is based at the headquarters of the UN, that means United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, at Nairobi. So all the parties are actually made together to come. All those responsibilities is made by the secretariat of this Montreal Protocol, and it actually held at headquarter, mainly at the headquarters of the United Nations Environmental Program at Nairobi. It has been ratified means to make that agreement officially acceptable by the countries. About 197 parties has been, what can I say, about 197 parties has been signed this protocol. They have accepted this protocol, they make that agreement. 196 member states of the UN plus EU, making it the first United Nations treaty to be ratified by every country in the world. So it is the only treaty, you can say, Montreal Protocol is only the treaty which is actually signed by almost every parties in the world. Now, these are some articles which are mentioned in the Montreal Protocol. I have just gone through an overview because all the act has been mentioned in an article. There is a section, there is a subsection. If you go to the laws, Article 2 has the control measures, how to control the air pollution, how to control the ozone depleting substance. In Article 3, it has been mentioned the calculation of the control levels, mathematics. In Article 4, it has mentioned the control of trade with the non-parties. That means non-party means those who are not under the protocol, how to deal with them. If they want ozone depleting substance, how to deal with them actually. Then special, in Article 5, it has been mentioned special situation of the developing countries. Then reporting of the data annually in Article 7 has been made. In Article 8, it has been saying non-compliance. Non-compliance means failure. Those who not act according to the protocol, what will be done to them actually, okay. And there will be some compensation or punishment has to be made, okay. Article 10 has been mentioned with technical assistance and other topics which are related with this Montreal Protocol, okay. Then more thing has been given after the article. Annex has been mentioned. Annex is another part of this protocol. In Annex A, it has been related with the various compounds which make ozone depletion, like chlorofluorocarbons, halogens. In Annex B, it has been mentioned all the other pollutants which causing depletion of the ozone layer, like fully halogenated chlorofluorocarbon, carbon tetrachloride, also called as CCl4, CCl4, okay. Then methyl chloroform. In Annex C, which is normally has been amended in the Kigali Agreement to stop reduce the production of and using of hydrochlorofluorocarbons, because they are not ozone depleting substance but they cause global warming. Then Annex C has been mentioned methyl bromide, and in Annex F it has been showing hydrofluorocarbons. Now for all of this, that we have to minimize the effect of ozone and ozone depletion, and we have to stop reducing the ozone depleting substance, and in alternate we have to use some alternate ways to use that other substance which will not cause any ozone depletion. For this we need scientific research, we need money, and for this reason they have make set up a fund. And the fund is actually based on multilateral fund. That means not only one country is responsible, but other countries are funding to make that technical approach accessible to each and every country who are the members of this protocol. So multilateral fund for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol was set up in 1991 to help the developing countries to comply with the provisions of the protocol. It is mentioned in the article 10 that fund has to be provided, okay, so that we can improve our scientific technological advancement, so that we can use alternate sources which will not able to deplete the ozone layer, but it will help us to improve the country. Okay, now the success of the Montreal Protocol is very much high, because by the time in 2012 it has been mentioned that the ozone hole which was actually observed in the polar region has start to reduce, has start to making get them thicker, and that is the success of the Montreal Protocol, you can say. So with the universal ratification and time bound binding framework, Montreal Protocol has been largely successful in setting out to achieve its mission of reversing the damage done to the ozone layer. So Montreal Protocol has become successful with their aim, because they have ratified many countries, almost all the countries in the world have signed. And not only a sign, they make a time bound na. So that's why they are agreed with this fact that within that time we have to start, we have to make scientific approaches, we have to reduce the use of ozone depleting substance, and that's why Montreal Protocol has been largely successful to achieve its mission of reversing the ozone layer. Okay, next it is saying that it has been considered the most successful international environmental action done by the countries. Okay, the protocol has been successful in leveling off or decreasing the atmospheric concentration of most of the important chlorofluorocarbons and related chlorinated hydrocarbons. So protocol has been successful to level off or decrease the atmospheric concentration of the ozone depleting substance, like most of the chlorofluorocarbons has been reduced. That's a quite good news that the protocol has been making this success. Although halon concentration has gone up, the rate of increase has come down, and the concentration is expected to decline by 2020. It has been mentioned that within 2020, which has already passed, the use of halons has to be reduced, has will be reduced obviously throughout the world. Protocol has successfully sent clear signals to the global market. So globally, this protocol has affected in a very good way, and the full implementation of the Montreal Protocol is expected to help its avoidance of about 280 million skin cancer incidents, almost 1.6 million deaths due to skin cancer, and millions of cases of cataracts. So it is expected that with the help of this Montreal Protocol, they have saved many lives who are suffering from skin cancer, which was suffering from cataracts, who have died also from cataracts, who have died from skin cancer also. So that's a very good news. That's a very good, you can say, comeback of this protocol that put that plan into effect. Now, within 2050, according to the protocol, it is saying that ozone is expected to recover by the year 2050. So, within 2050, according to the protocol's plan, they have said that the ozone layer will be fully recovered. Then it is saying parties of the protocol has been able to phase out 98% of the ozone depleting substance compared to the level in 1990. It is saying that almostly 98, each and every country have almostly 98% they have phased out or reduced the use of ozone depleting substance comparing to the 1990s. So these are the things, and you will see them. Now, India and Montreal Protocol. Well, India, if you see India and Montreal Protocol, India also became a signatory. It will also become a member of the Montreal Protocol in 1922, and India falls under Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol, and it is entitled to assist the multilateral fund to phase out the ozone depleting substance. So normally India falls under Article 5 of the Montreal Protocol, and they have made a commitment that they will try to phase out the ozone depleting substance with the effort of multilateral fund, with the help of, because India is a developing country, by the way, it's not developed. So they try to phase out the ozone depleting substance, but with scientific advancement, um, and fund which will be provided by the protocol, okay, they will try to phase out all the gases which are actually making out by the India. Now these are the substances which are normally used by India: CFC 11, CFC 113, CFC 12, halon 1301, halon 1211, carbon tetrachloride, methyl bromide, and methyl chloroform. These are the some substances which are actually manufactured and used by the Indians, by the Indian government. Okay, and strictly they have said that within a particular time frame we have to minimize the use of these substances. So many things we have there. We are not actually, I am discussing all of them. The important things are, I am saying. Okay. Next is your Kigali agreement. Okay, what is Kigali agreement? I will discuss now. So some important facts about Kigali agreement. Kigali agreement is actually an amendment made by the Montreal Protocol in its eighth amendment. It was so named that about it happened in Kigali. Okay, Kigali is a name. It is a place. It is a capital of Rwanda. In October 2016, the Montreal Protocol has been set up there, and they have made few changes, some advancements, some modifications has been made by the Montreal Protocol. And according to the terms of amendment, signing countries are expected to decrease the manufacture and use of hydrofluorocarbon. Now they are saying in the Kigali amendment that we have to stop, we have to reduce the use of hydrochlorofluorocarbon. Why? Hydrofluorocarbon. Hydrofluorocarbon is not a ozone depleting substance. Then why it is saying by the amendment that by the Montreal Protocol that stop using this hydrofluorocarbon? Hydrofluorocarbon is a greenhouse gas. Okay, so by minimizing the use of hydrochlorofluorocarbon, it will curb the global warming, it will reduce the global warming by arresting the global average temperature rise to 0.5 degrees Celsius by the year 2100. So if we can minimize the use of hydrofluorocarbons, then it is saying that we can expect it to reduce 0.5 degree average temperature by the year of 2100. The Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer entered into force on 1st January 2019 following ratification by the required number of countries. So the main aim of the Kigali Agreement was not only to deplete the ozone substance but also to minimize the use of hydrofluorocarbons, which is causing global warming. And this agreement aims to phase down the hydrofluorocarbon by reducing its manufacture and consumption. How you can minimize? By reducing its manufacture, by reducing its consumption, using hydrofluorocarbons are replacement for chlorofluorocarbons. When in the presence of Montreal Protocol, it has been said to minimize the use of chlorofluorocarbons. So the countries, so the scientific, they make some scientific improvements to use alternate substance that will replace the chlorofluorocarbon, and they started use the hydrofluorocarbon. Well, hydrofluorocarbon is not causing any ozone depletion, so at that time the members have agreed. But at the Kigali Agreement, which is the eighth amendment of the Montreal Protocol, they have said to reduce the use of hydrofluorocarbon, although they are not ozone depleting substance, but they are causing global warming. They are a greenhouse gas. However, these hydrofluorocarbon are powerful greenhouse gases, and Montreal Protocol is made even more potent in the fight against greenhouse gas with the Kigali Amendment. So they are also there, because by the way it is related with air. Okay, we have to improve the environment. Okay, so these are some hydrofluorocarbons which has to be stopped using, and they are actually very harmful greenhouse gas. They can absorb more energy. Okay, so that's the all that I have discussed with you. Just go through these points, just go through these points one by one, and I hope you can able to understand what I have discussed with you today. Okay, so let's we'll go for the next video lecture. Just if you have any doubts, you can ask me individually or in the group, in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so that's all for today.